Oh.
Reading is now streaming live on YouTube.
And now we just wait for a Karen.
Um,
So hi.
there we go. My thing was displaying nerd. So now here's my big difficulty.
Oh, yeah.
I have Zoom on this half of the screen. I have the YouTube channel on this half, so if anybody's making comments, I can see it. But I also need to have up my pattern.
Oh.
And I need to have it up actively because I am still creating it. It's something I had made before, but I only got like half of it written down and not beginning half or the end half. A section in the middle is missing.
Mm. Well, so I've done some calculations, and for all my fall and Halloween earrings,
Mhm.
I have 296 pairs to make. I have 28 pairs of those done.
Okay.
And I am currently, during today's book club, working on, hold on, these ones. I don't know how well that looks on camera, but I think I have the earring hook in backwards, or my leaves are backwards or something. Ugh, but it's my most complicated one.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on, well, this pattern that I'm still developing slash redeveloping, but I'm working on it in preparation for my certain younger child turning 10 because he's been asking for his own version of this. It's a bat.
Mm,
I made it for a friend several years ago for her first child. So now I know she posted a picture of it. So now I'm like scrolling all through her Facebook trying, aha, there it is. Find the picture of it so I can figure out what else it was that I needed to do. But this is my difficulty. Um, when I made it for her, I used um I used a strand of worsted weight black yarn and a strand of black eyelash yarn together, so it would be a fuzzy bat.
yep.
Um, the one I'm doing for my son, I don't have any black eyelash yarn right now, and B, he really wants it to be black and red, so I'm using red, but it's not technically eyelash yarn. It's the scrubby yarn.
I might have red eyelash yarn,
And I'm
but
trying to get it done
that
by
doesn't help
Sunday, so
you. Yeah, so it doesn't help you.
I've
Um,
already got this much done. I'm like, it's not like too itchy. It's just a little bit like odd, you know?
yeah.
Like if it were done entirely in the scrubby yarn, it would just be too itchy. But with it
Oh, yeah.
being like a little bit spaced out because of being doubled in with the worsted weight, I don't think it's too itchy.
So with these being three-tiered earrings, I want your opinion.
Hmm.
Would it be faster to do all of one color and then put them together, or should I make each earring individually? Which way do you think would be more efficient?
Well, the general principle is that the least amount of times you have to set one thing down to pick another thing up, the faster it would go. So, which would have the least changing between things or putting stuff down and picking it back up?
Probably doing one earring at a time because I wouldn't have to group piles.
Yeah. You just have a pile of jump rings and a pile of hooks, and then you just open the jump ring, put on the foam earring, and then put on the earring hook, and then
Oh,
close it.
no, care. I've chosen to do my 3-tier leaves.
Those ones are going to take a little bit more work.
They are.
Welcome, by the way.
Hi.
So I was wondering if I should do the red ones first, which take 7 chains, or if I should do one of each color to make a whole earring at a time.
Right.
Because one takes 3 links, one takes 5 links, and one takes 7 links.
I would just make all the links first. But that's me, and I like to do things the hard way. So,
Yes, you do.
Probably one earring at a time would be best. But I still have to poke each hole individually. So that's going to take a minute. And also the rings I'm using, they're slightly overlapped, so I have to go and properly close each one before I do anything with it.
yep.
Is it an extra step?
So I just got my supper, so I'm gonna be eating. Apologize.
Okay.
All
I'm
right.
hungry.
I had one of my favorite early autumn meals tonight.
Yeah?
I did roast chicken and roast veggies, and I made some homemade bread and some homemade stovetop applesauce.
Ooh.
And whew, I am full, but it was good. And then there are the chapters,
Yes.
Ooh,
So
which was much less good.
they were
I
very, I thought
completely
they were
forgot
both
about this.
kind of somber. I
I
thought they were both.
completely forgot about this.
yeah.
I think I
I
blocked it out of
pre-warned
my
Lisa.
memory.
I read it
What?
first, and I pre-warned Lisa. So
Yeah, but I don't know if it's because you prepped me for it or if it because it hit me differently, but it didn't. Like, there was one part I teared up on, and that was it. Like, just one part specifically. Oh, I gotta
I
change it so I can see
definitely
all
was
3 of
tearing up.
you. There we go.
That surprises me though that you didn't as much because you were, I think, of the three of us, the most like, oh, but John and Meg.
yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't really like I could see them together. It was cute, but like it wasn't like a favorite of mine, I guess.
Okay.
Um, and I'm not as connected to the character,
Yeah.
but
I mean, he's definitely not a character you can as easily connect to just by nature of
I
not
think Lisa was most connected to Beth.
what?
I
yes.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
Beth.
Beth.
Beth. Yes. I got confused for a moment because I was just before we got on was messaging somebody named Beth.
Well, that would cause some confusion.
And I was like, what does that have to do with any? Like, oh, right, right.
Everybody is wondering what we're talking about.
The last book, if you guys read Little Women, no.
Or followed
Listen,
along
little
with
man.
us while we read Little Women.
Right. So anyway, so this chapter was called John Brooke.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Which
I
was
think that was a little bit mean of them.
So basically, the chapter starts off where Joe is waking Demi to tell him that his father is deathly ill and they need to go see him.
It sounded like it came on quite sudden.
It
So,
does seem like it happened really suddenly.
Yeah,
way
they
they
literally
talked
said
about
he
it.
was only sick for a few hours.
Right. So I wonder what happened, but it seems like he caught some kind of, flu or something.
I think, was it scarlet fever
Maybe.
that goes that fast?
But would they have been allowed around him in that situation? Because he was holding them when he passed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but that was the sad part. So the boys were trying to figure out what they should do without both Fritz and Joe there. And they decided that they were going to do their lessons to show that they were good kids and to make them proud and to give them something to be happy about, considering the situation.
Right.
They didn't know the situation.
They
Well,
did. They talked about it.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Franz and Emil knew the situation. Everybody
They-
else did not.
No, they told them because the other boys were also like concerned about Demi's dad. They didn't, I don't think, know exactly what to expect.
Right.
Why?
I think they all kind of knew, though, when Fritz came home and the look on his face and
Yeah,
no Demi and
that's what it
no
said. They were,
Joe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But, and it's funny because I've been asking a lot through this book, like, are their parents still alive and stuff like that? And then you hear that both of their parents show up to like this little celebration of life at
They've mentioned them several times through the book.
I know, but I keep wondering, like, are they still I don't know why it doesn't stick with me. I keep questioning if they're alive. And then you also find out that Meg was only married 10 years, which means Demi and Daisy are only like 8.
No, they're
They're
8. They're
10.
10.
They're 10.
She
says
got
she's
pregnant
10.
like right away with them.
Okay, because she said she's only been married 10 years, and I'm like, that makes them like 8.
No,
But-
she got pregnant really quickly with them. And,
Could have been 9, but no, it says that they were 10.
Okay.
yeah, Demi says he's 10 now. So,
so maybe it was closer to 11 years, but they only put 10 because it hadn't been 11. Who
Yeah.
knows?
who knows?
I
But
mean,
yeah,
that's
so I was
what that's what happened with my oldest. I was pregnant with him like a month after we got married. And people would be like, "Oh, it's a honeymoon baby," and I'm like, "Not technically." But but like however many years we've been married, he reaches that age before we reach our next anniversary, only by
A couple months.
2 months.
yeah, so that's probably what happened. But honestly, of the book, the thing that made me tear up was, and this will surprise both of you, was the part where Demi says that he's no longer Demi, he's gonna go by John Brooks now because that's who he is.
A good, honest man.
Cholera is the one that could have him dead by the next day. And it's mostly spread through unsanitary water and things.
So not by contact.
So right. So it could be that. It's also possible that he could have been injured.
That's true.
And they just referred to it as an illness because any infirmity, so to speak, could have been referred to as an illness, even if it wasn't a germ related thing, because they didn't have the same awareness of germs as we have now.
But anyway, yeah, so that was the part that made me tear up was Demi choosing to go by John Brooks now because that's
I
Who was?
teared up multiple times. One of them being when the boys sang a hymn at his funeral.
That was
Yeah.
sweet. Yeah. Yeah, but that's the part that made me tear up. Ken's like, "You're gonna cry," and I'm like, "Okay." And then it was only when Demi's like, "I'm gonna be John Brooks now," that I'm like, "Oh."
Yep. All right, let's see. That was one single crochet and next two. Two. Together.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked how they were talking like, I want to be a man just like John Brooke, and then Mr. Bear sits him down and tells him exactly, you know, the
Oh
kind of
yeah,
man
because
he's
someone
looking for.
was making fun of him for just being a good man, not having money,
I think
that
not.
sort of thing.
I don't think they were making fun
Well,
of
not
him as
making
much
fun,
as
but like
oh,
really
is that
that's
all?
all.
Like Jack in particular is just like
Or like he
really
wasn't
struggles to
rich.
wrap his mind around there being more to life than
I guess my word should be more condescending. Like that's
yeah.
all. Like that's it.
I just realized that my calendars, I hadn't switched my calendar yet.
Oh,
This is Erica that used to do book club with us. These are
oh.
her designs. I have to show you the October one. I've looked through all of them already.
Ooh, I like that
The
one.
whole calendar is all octopuses.
Octopus.
Octopod.
Oh, this one, I swear these earrings are going to cost more than any other pair just because of how much individual maintenance they require.
I have that one on a mug.
You
And a
do.
sticker. A mug and a sticker.
Yeah, your sticker, I remember. Ooh, squid.
I have this one on a t-shirt.
You do. I like that one.
I love them. And then last month's I have on a t-shirt also. And then
Oh,
this will be next month. And then December.
nice.
Okay, I'll stop now. We can go back to Little Men. If I can get it back on the tack. There we go.
Damn it.
All right.
So my goal is to make 32 earrings because I want 15 pairs and a pair for myself. And all I have is this one sample that I made last year. So
You can do it.
I got this.
Do all that work to put the screw in the bear's head, only for it to break. And I
Oh,
have a screw stuck in the bear's head.
oh no. Poor
And
bear.
the useless eye is broken off.
That kind of makes the bear useless too because you can't get the screw out.
No.
Oh, that was the other thing we hadn't said. So, in addition to wanting to be called John now instead of Demi, um, that's only one part of him stepping into his father's shoes because he wants to take care of his mother and sisters now. Mother and sister. And so he
does little odd jobs for his Aunt Joe.
does he
I
have two
thought that was in
sisters?
the next chapter.
No, the next story doesn't have odd jobs.
Oh.
Yeah, so he starts by
Does he have another sister? Do Demi and Daisy
little
have
baby
another sister?
Josie. Baby
What?
Josie.
Baby Josie is theirs? Okay, I was thinking that was somebody
No,
else.
because she looks just like Beth.
That's right. I forgot. Um, anyway, so he wanted to start making money, so Joe was um paying him for some little jobs because he wants to provide some money for his mother and the little girls, as he says, even though Daisy is the same age as him. Exactly the same age. They're twins. Um, and um, excuse me. They he generally just is taking on a more serious main, not by not like it specifies it's not like boys a lot of boys get where they're like ashamed of their um childhood pastimes, but he just doesn't have as much interest in them. He wants manlier pursuits.
His perception has changed. Oh no, I ruined that one.
How?
Huh?
How?
So I put it last year when I started making these, I put a dab of super glue. I think I did this during one of our lives. Here. And I went to poke the hole with the awl and I split it.
Ooh.
So good thing I have extras.
um I saw this is barely related, but I just thought of it again. We were at Walmart earlier and we saw somebody walking through the parking lot that we know from church. And my son is going, I recognize him. And I was like, yeah, we know him from church. And then I was like, but I can't remember his name because it might be this name or it might be this name because I can visually tell the difference between him and his twin brother. I just always forget which name goes with which one. And he was like, this is my younger son. He goes, they're twins too? Ay, ay, ay. How many twins are there?
A lot.
There was 3 in our high school class alone. 3 sets.
Yeah, in our
twins.
graduating class there was 3 pairs of twins.
It cracked me up. Um, anyway, I was just thinking of it again as I'm sitting here talking to a set of twins about a set of twins.
Oh, look what I found, by the way.
Cute.
Is that your sunflower flower?
It's my sunfire flower. It's one of the first hair accessory Frankenstein flowers I made. And when I put it on like 3 Christmases ago, I was like, this is mine. I am not selling this one. And it became literally the picture I use for my shop everywhere. And it's my sunfire flower.
Didn't
And I
isn't
found it.
isn't that what we named a flower in D&D?
Is it?
I don't think so. I
It
don't think we
wasn't
named it
Sunfire, it
sunflower.
was something else fire. But I can't remember what it was. The one that your character was carrying so carefully.
The one that I so
What was
preciously
it?
love.
Starfire? No.
It's something like
uh,
that.
yeah.
I mean, and technically the sun is a star, so basically it was that.
Oh, this
It's
one's.
basically the same thing.
Note to self, I don't need the glue dab in the future. Letting it sit makes it hard and it breaks the flowers.
Yeah. That makes
Well, I
sense.
was worried because they're just little fabric things. I didn't want the
Fabric
dumpling to break them, but I'm finding that it's actually causing more issues.
more.
So, future self, know this.
Self, you are on notice. All right.
Oh,
So
yep,
the
there we go.
next
Cracked
chapter.
another. I'm not gonna have any extras of this color, I tell you what.
The
It's
next
this color
chapter
too. Next
is
chapter.
chap is around the fire.
Yeah, so
Sorry, I'm
they
all
decide
tangled
that they're
here.
gonna have a little bonfire and make popcorn and have some nuts and just
It's
tell a
not a bonfire.
story.
It's in the fireplace in the house.
Yeah, it's because they're inside.
That's like camping. They're telling stories.
Yeah.
Apparently, they used to tell ghost stories until Tommy was sleepwalking on the shed roof.
Yeah, no.
I don't know why that would be an issue. Like, it seems perfectly fine, really.
It seems like a Tommy thing, walking on the shed roof.
It kind of does.
So they
They
um
decide that anybody who comes in has to tell them a
well
story.
first
Oh, I
Demi
skipped this step.
Demi, who is still being referenced as Demi, even though he's decided he wants to be called John. I was like,
That confused me a
I
I
little
was
think
bit.
it's for the reader's sake. I think
I think so too. But my first thought was, Louisa May Alcott, do you have no respect for his wishes?
but he wishes to be called John.
Um, so um as they were trying to decide what to do, he told them to um form a row, stand in a row, and um went through having each of them give their suggestion, acting all official with the brush from the fireplace, like, and yours, and yours, and yours, which was just adorable to me. And then Stuffy suggested roasting apples and popping corn and cracking nuts over the fire. And fire, I don't know why that came out like that. I went southern for a second there. And they did. They when once they voted, they decided that that's what they all wanted to do. And so they got ready to do so, and was it Franz? It was one of the older ones, was teasing them about, oh yeah, go get your sweethearts. And Demi's like, don't call my sister a sweetheart. and
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 also, I think she's sweet. Not
they were
just this
so
is the
cute. Like, so wait, who was, I'm not gonna be able to say the names right. Um,
it's because there's so many that are so similar. So
yes,
you find out that Nat has a crush on Daisy, which is just cute.
yes. And then um Nan and Tommy.
Yeah.
Um, but Nan and Tommy have decided that they're going to get married next year.
I'm like, aren't they like 13, 14?
I'm pretty sure they're like 12.
Yeah, but she gave him that little hair wire ring.
The
Well, she was
the
Miss Goody Gaddy.
horsehair
Yeah.
ring.
Yeah.
And they're gonna get married next year. And it reminded me of my, actually, I don't even think they are 12. I think they're like 10 or 11. Anyway, it reminded me of my 12-year-old back when he was like 4. There was one day he just like started sobbing. And I'm like, baby, what is wrong? And he's like, I don't know who I'm gonna marry. And I was like, it's okay. You have time to figure it out. And he's like, but I don't know enough girls. And this one like is better friends with this other friend of ours, and that only leaves this girl, and I don't want to marry her. And he's like, I won't have any other choices. And I'm like, baby, there are so many other girls in the world. You will meet more girls as you get older. You are not even a quarter of the way to being able to get married.
And may I just point out that both you and Karen have been married over a decade, and here I am, finally engaged.
Yeah,
Like,
you know why? You know why? Because there's no timetable on it.
exactly.
Yeah, by the way, Friday, happy 11 years. So
What?
No
Friday is
trouble.
11 years for me
Is
and
it
Paul.
really? I keep thinking it's 12.
It is, because it's also my little one's birthday.
Yeah, it's 11 years for me and my husband being married on Friday.
Also means that's your work anniversary at your job, Lisa.
Yes, it is. I've been there 3 years.
Well, we really made it easy to remember these things.
Yeah.
Which clearly we did on purpose, given that
Which
didn't
also,
know
I
you.
think I got my job where I
Anyhow.
work now. I know I was telling people, oh yeah, I got the job on October 4th. I sent that text out. So I think I was working, I was employed.
I don't know. All I know is my baby's gonna be 10.
Oh no.
Because last year on his birthday, he was like, "Hey, mommy, this is your last year with a child in the single digits."
You're like, don't tell me that.
I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
I am going to grab a tissue and try to. I'm just gonna make myself not visible for a second. I'm gonna try to clean out this camera because I am so blurry and all I can. Oh yeah, that helped. Definitely.
Ooh.
It's been bugging me the whole time. But the
Oh.
tissues are back there and I'm over here. Um anyway, so they decided they were going to do that and they decided to go get the girls. And apparently they have like signed code for different things because when Tommy went to get the girls, he was he was like, "May we please borrow the girls for a little bit? We'll take good care of them."
It was like a
Which I
wink
love.
for apples.
But he, as he said this, he winked his eye, snapped his fingers, and gnashed his teeth to indicate to the girls that there would be apples, as an apple of your eye, popcorn, and cracking nuts. And the fact that he could just do that and they fully got the message, like they had to have these worked out ahead of time.
But then
Oh,
they took the
definitely.
time to explain it to Aunt Joe.
What?
They then took the time to explain the shorthand to Aunt Joe. Something wouldn't have just been faster to just say.
But it's so much fun to have those things that are like the inside knowledge and the grown-ups don't know what the kids are talking about. That's how we end up with things like Gat and Skibbity Toilet. It's just there to make sure that the grown-ups don't know what the kids are talking about. So I'm just trying to find. Okay,
I am hoping
so
I have enough eye screws because I have to put eye screws in all of this. All of this. I don't think I have enough.
Here,
okay.
I've got some.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Because
You
I need
know.
this color here, and that's all I have left of it.
Oh, well, no, I literally have this. How many is in it? 500? Yeah, I have 500 and I only needed like 24. So,
I'm good. I'll take them.
all right.
She took my jump rings. I'll take her eye screws.
I did too.
I
She
forgot to
gave me
decrease.
her jump rings.
Gave her.
I got going and was just like crocheting along and forgot to be making decreases as I went.
Oh
No.
no. Ta-da! I finished one earring, but I think I put the hook on backwards.
That's an easy fix.
Yeah, I know. I just always do it.
Yeah, I always have to double check before I put the hook on that it's on the right way when I close it. Um,
All right. So as they were walking back, Tommy told Nan, "Don't talk to Jack because he makes fun of me." And Nan, as we know, does not like to be told what to do.
Nope.
So she was like, "I'll talk to whoever I want." And um he was like, "Not if you're gonna be my girl." And she's like, "Well, then I won't be."
I know.
And then he gave her
Paul
back,
saying hi.
"Hi." And then he gave her back the horsehair ring. And um
She's like, I'll give it to Ned. He likes Miss Kitty Gaddy.
and was it Ned?
Yeah, it was Ned.
Yes, it was Ned that because I was like, "Oh my gosh,
There's Nan, Ned,
Nat
and Nat, and
Nat
Dan.
likes Daisy, Nan likes Tommy, but decided to switch her affections from Tommy to Ned." And I was like,
Because of a fight.
Their names so similar." I swear she did it on purpose just to try to give me an aneurysm a couple 100 years later, 150 years later, whatever it is. Anyway, um, so they they're all roasting their apples and all the things and making popcorn, and they decide on a new little game to go with this, where anybody who walks in the room has to tell them a story. Initially, I think it was Franz that suggested it, just said, whoever the next person is who comes in has to tell us a story. But then they just kept going with anybody who walks into the room has to tell them a story, no matter who it is.
Because it was so much fun.
And the first one was Silas. And he was just like, "I don't know how to tell a story." And they're like, "Nope, it's the rules, you have to." And the group of boys managed to overpower him, which I strongly suspect involved a little bit of relinquishing power on his part, because I don't think they could actually, even with all of them, actually overpower him if he didn't want to be. But he was like, "Well, I only know one story." And he told them about his horse when he was in the Civil War. And it's a sweet story, but a little bit of a sad story.
And how
And
he still kept a clump of the horsehair to this day
yep,
inside his wallet. His wallet.
yep.
Wallet.
It okay. So when they say pocketbook, they literally just mean what we call a wallet. Because now
Yeah,
we
but
call the pocketbook like we use pocketbook and purse interchangeably, but it was literally just a foldable book that went into a pocket. It was a wallet.
yeah, I
A
was saying that in
pocket
the
book.
book they put quotes around wallet. In
What?
the book,
Is that
in the
Yeah.
book, they put quotes around wallet.
Yes,
well, that's
because
because
it
that's
was a
what
much less
Silas
common
called
term
it.
at the time, or like a colloquial term for certain places, but not in New England.
Yeah, I understood that when they talked about how he unfolded it and then opened it.
Yeah.
I figured out it was actually a wallet. I just thought it was funny that they put
Oh, I think it's
quotations.
hilarious. Yeah. Um,
Well, again, that's what they said he called it was a wallet, but they knew it as a pocketbook.
right,
And today we would know it as a wallet.
right. Um,
I feel like in the future, phone books aren't going to be places where you keep numbers. It's going to be those little purse things where you keep all your cards and your phone.
Could be.
Because it's a phone book.
yep.
Excuse me, I'm throwing rings everywhere.
Um, so what was I going to say? Lost my train of thought. Okay, so he told his story, and
I think that was one of my favorite stories told because I really like that story.
Yeah,
it was a good story. The thing is, I do this with my kids sometimes where we tell stories, but we often take turns telling stories, or oh, I need my scissors. So we often take turns telling stories, or they'll ask me to tell a story, and I tell them, okay, I'll tell a story, but you have to help me. So, ow, bang my elbow on
What?
my table. Um, so yeah, I'll say like you will tell a story, but you need to help me. So I need one of you to tell me where it's going to be set. One of you tell me when it's going to be set. One of you tell me a character, and then one of you tell me a problem that they encounter. And then I'll go through and make up a story based on the things that they told me. Um, I think a couple weeks ago, my niece was here and we did that with her also. And the story we told was like, um, I think there was the main character was a cat, and the problem was that the cat didn't have any milk. So I wrote this whole story for them about like this cat woke up and she and her mother went searching for milk because they went to the store first, but the store was out of milk. So then they saw white on top of the mountain, so they went to the top of the mountain, but it wasn't milk, it was snow. And then they went down to the ocean and they saw white on the waves, but it wasn't milk, it was just salty water. And so they finally returned home only to find that their house in the field was in a cow pasture and the cows had been let out to pasture. And the cow's like, you went searching all that way for milk when I live literally right here? But yeah, that was my fun story. But then
Joe came in.
Yeah, yep. Joe came in and then I on. Um, Joe came in and she told them a far more moralistic story.
Hmm.
Silas's story was good and it did have its lessons after a fashion. Um, but um Joe told a much more moralistic story that sounded very much like it could have just been excuse me, like it could have just been um another one of the things that happened in this book, but she was running out of space in the book, so she crunched some stories into the chapter. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4. So she told them the story about a boy who stole all the filling from the gooseberry tarts at a school for boys that sounded very much like the school for boys that she runs. And um and then his stomach was bothering him during the night. The conclusion that the kids reached talking about it after, the kids and Joe together reached talking about it after, was that it might bother your stomach more eating things that you stole than things that you um eat at the dinner table with everybody else because your conscience is bothering you. And while guilt can certainly upset some stomachs, I was just sitting there going, or because had he not stolen it, he would have gotten one gooseberry tart, not the filling of 12 different gooseberry tarts.
Right?
And then, um, oh, so then the boy had, what was it next? Oh, he had essentially he had been found out and everybody kept picking on him. But then there
But
was a
then
pet,
a traveling merchant came by.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. There was a peddler that came selling stuff. And he sold stuff to the different boys. Do you guys know what a Jew's harp is, by the way?
No.
I this time I didn't have to look it up because I've had to look it up before. It's a harmonica. I have no idea why in some places and sometimes it's been called a Jew's harp, but um anyway, so he came by and he sold them some things and he had this knife that the boy particularly wanted, but he
Lewis.
didn't have any money to get it with. And so when he was packing up, it was like the last thing that the boy returned to his place. And then the peddler came back later and was like 2 days later, and was like, "Hey, I seem to have lost that particular knife. Does anybody know what happened to it?" And even though he said he didn't, everybody assumed that the boy had stolen it. And clearly he had quite thoroughly lost their trust. So he spent weeks with them accusing him of having stolen it, making fun of him, all sorts of different things. And this was ringing very, very familiar to some of the boys from previous situations they have been in. And
Like Dan
so,
and Nat.
yeah. And um and Jack, having been the one who actually did steal when Nat was accused of it. Or no, when Dan was accused of it, rather. And so he kept saying that he was innocent, but nobody believed him until the peddler came back and was like,
Months
"Hey,"
later.
yeah, like, was it months? I thought it was weeks.
It was months.
Okay,
It was
months
months.
months later. And I think it said as the weeks went by first, and that's the part that stuck in my brain. But he came back and he was like, "Hey, I found that knife. Since you already paid for it when I thought that somebody here had stolen it, it rightfully belongs to you." So everybody apologized to the boy, but he vowed to never lie again because that's why everybody didn't trust him in the first place. And then Rob came in and was like, he was supposed to be in bed. And so they were like, yeah, you better get going because anybody who comes in has to tell us a story, um and you can't do that. So, you better hurry up and run. And he was like, "Yes, I can. I can tell a story. I tell
I
my
tell
brother
him
stories
daddy
all
all
the time."
the time.
And he tells the most adorable little story, little tragedy of a woman who had a million kids and one good boy. And the good boy fell in the well and drowned. And they're like, is that the whole story? And he's like, no. And then he's like trying to think of what else he can tell for a story. And they have a little side conversation while he's thinking, and he's like, I've got it. And then she pumped him up, like with the pump from the well. She pumped him up and set him on the shelf in the shed to dry for seeds. And so then since he told such a good story, he can stay for a little bit. And his mother tells him he can stay until he finishes the 11 pieces of popcorn that he has. And so, what?
12.
12?
He had
Yep.
12 pieces. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was sworn it was 11, but doesn't matter that much.
No, it doesn't.
But she figures that he'll just be scarfing it down like he usually does, not taking into account that tell a child that something's going to happen after they finish something that they don't want to have happen, they will drag that out as long as possible. So Joe tells a second story while he's slowly eating his popcorn. And the second story, oh yeah, the second story was about the boy with the wood box. He's a boy who loves to
Read
loves
and
to study, loves to study, but doesn't like to work. And then she makes the point that sometimes anybody who particularly loves books and not working needs to learn to work a little more, and people who love working and don't love studying need to learn to study a little more. And it takes all kinds in the world, but you can also learn from each other and be a little bit more balanced. And she emphasizes this toward Demi and Dan as she's saying it, and Demi's going, I do work too, and Dan's going, and I definitely study too, as he's like exasperatedly looking at the chalkboard, his arithmetic on it or whatever it was. And so she's basically like, yep, that's my point. You guys are doing better about keeping that balanced, and this boy needed to learn to keep that balanced.
Real quick about the arithmetic. Demi decided he wanted to be wants to learn math more so he can keep books and ledgers like his dad did.
Yep.
We skipped that.
And so then the boy wants to go to school, and his mother like dotes on him and does all the work so that he can just study all the time. And so when he asks the local minister for help with books and clothes for going to school, the minister tells him that he'll help him with it as long as he keeps his mother's wood box filled, and he has to keep it filled himself. He can't have somebody else doing it for him. And so he does, and in the process learns to do more work and learns the sense of accomplishment from having worked for things and not just having somebody else doing everything for you all the time, which I thought was a little bit funny because in more modern standards, I think a lot of people value somebody working hard at school to the point that they're like honestly, if they're busy like studying, why would you make them stop to do chores? Like, just take care of the stuff and let them study. And I think it's interesting how the different kind of ideals of that change at different points in society. But I agree with Joe. I think it's good to have balance. And then
He married a sleeping Rob to bed.
yes. And then it turns out that Rob fell asleep while she was telling the story with one last uneaten piece of popcorn in his hand. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can just picture my children, my nieces and nephews, the amount of children I've seen fall asleep with a piece of food still in their hands. And so she brought him to bed, and then they tried to get Marianne to come in, but Silas had already warned her. And so then they heard Uncle
Uncle Fritz.
Uncle Daddy Bear. I don't know what to call him.
Fritz?
What?
Fritz?
Yeah, he's uncle to some, daddy to some, and Mr. Bear to others.
Exactly.
What?
You can call him Fritz.
Uncle Daddy Fritz Bear. Anyway, so they heard him come in
I keep
to the
doing
house,
that. Sorry, go ahead.
and they were like, okay, everybody laugh really loud and he'll definitely come in. And so they did, and he came in and was like, oh, what's the joke in here? And they were like, the joke is that whoever comes in has story to story. And he was like, well, that seems, or has to tell a story. And he was like, that seems like a great plan to me. And so he sat down, and I can't even remember what his story was about. It so thoroughly didn't stick with me.
I do. I can tell it.
Go for it.
So his story was about Grandpa March.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so Grandpa March had gone to this city to raise money for a charity, for an orphanage, a charity event for an orphanage. And as he was riding home with his pocketbook full of money for the orphanage, he was in this questionable part of into town where people were known to be robbed. And he saw this man walk out into the street and start slowly walking ahead of his carriage. Yeah, he's in a carriage, yes. And at first he was afraid that this man was going to try to rob him with all of his money. But as he approached him, he noticed how haggard the man looked. And he decided that he was going to give this man a ride. So he gives this man a lift into town, and he's talking with him, and he learns that this man has been struggling to find a job, and he has a wife and some children to support, and things are not looking very bright. So as Mr. March tells him that he knows several people in the next town that could be willing to give him a job, and he opened up his pocketbook to pull out a piece of paper to write on, revealing all the money in his pocket. And he saw the hungry look in the man's eyes as all this money is sticking out of his pocketbook. And he just calmly, at first he was scared again, because he's like, this guy wants my money. And he goes, I'm going to play this right. He goes, yes, there's a lot of money in here, but it is not for me. It is for the children of the orphanage. I have $5. That's all that's actually mine. It's not much, but I'm going to give it to you in good faith. So he gives the man $5, and he drops him off in the next town. And as he goes to pull away, the guy says, my luck's been really down, and I was going to rob you, but you have changed things for me. So and then hopefully the man goes off to live a profitable life, which we don't know because we never meet this man again. But the point was that Mr. March didn't judge him based on his appearance. He gave him a chance.
Where he met him.
Or where he'd met him. He was kind. Yep.
And then they try to convince him to tell another story. And they're like, Mother Bear did.
And he's like, too many stories is like too many bonbons.
And I just love that he's like, she did, and he's like, then I certainly won't. Like, your attempt at persuading him just did exactly the opposite.
Too many stories is like too many bonbons.
Or too much gooseberry filling. And the stories have made Tommy and Nam want to make up, and so after they chase Father Bear to his office, they decide that they're going to play Blind Man's Bluff for a bit, and then they start playing Button Who's Got the Button, and in the process of playing, Nan gives Tommy back the horsehair ring,
Which he puts back on his finger.
and their home in the willow lasted long, a pleasant little castle in the air. The home that they're going to move into when they get married next year.
The willow tree that told all the stories. I do gotta say, while listening to all these stories, it reminded me of something from like a decade or longer ago. So my mom took her little thing at writing a story once. She loved her, and it's a really long time ago. And she asked me to read this draft of a story she wrote. It was a little short story. And
The one about the ants?
yeah, about the ants. And you weren't supposed to know it was about an ant. And she wrote it. It was very well written. It was about ants dying from ant poisoning and how it spread through the hive. And it was a really interesting story. But all these storytellings just made me think of that. You know, my mom, her own story that she told and created.
So we're over time, which is fine because we got started late anyway, but I got the body of the bat done, and the beginning of its head. You got its nose there. And now I'm going to, when we get off, I'm going to go to my bedroom and continue working on it because I need to have it done by Sunday.
I broke a total of 3 screws so far. All of them red. I don't know why they're red.
Some tells me you need to be more careful with the
2
screws.
red teddy bears and a controller. And then I noticed that this controller has a sharp edge that I got to trim down. But
Let's see how many earrings I finished. 1, 2, 3.
I still have this many left to do.
Okay, so I did 4 earrings. That's 2 pairs. I'm on another half one, and I did get all of my leaves punctured. So
Nice.
good to go.
Good. All right. Well,
Only
next
20.
time,
Yep.
next
27 to
time
go.
we meet will be October 15th, and we will be on the final chapter, Thanksgiving.
In which we can talk about the
Ooh.
final chapter and our thoughts on the whole Little Men book as a whole.
Mm.
Final chapter of Little Men, and then we have Joe's Boys left to go.
Yeah.
And sometime in the midst of reading Joe's Boys, somewhere in there, we'll probably need to talk to each other and figure out what we're going to do post Louisa May Alcott.
Right?
Right, because it's been about 3 years.
I have some ideas.
It's been about 3
Alright.
years since we voted on not only the Call of Cthulhu and other weird stories by H.P. Lovecraft, but then the second being, Little Women by
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody who hasn't been following this from the beginning, we started with Call of Cthulhu and other weird stories, and went from that into Little Women. So I don't know. Maybe we should go from the Louisa May Alcott books to like something by the Brontes. Those tend to be a little bit creepier. Or Gothic novels. Or There's Always Frankenstein.
Yeah, we'll have to get a list and it'd be nice to get another member too. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so everybody have a good night.
Oh, this is like broken already.
No.
We shouldn't put it in for